It started with a leak, a small drip from the ceiling in the hallway outside my apartment. It was late September, and the nights had just started turning cold in Columbus, Ohio. I had just moved into the building 2 weeks earlier, 3rd floor, apartment 6C. It was quiet, a little old, but the rent was cheap, and the landlord left me alone. That's all I needed. The first time I noticed the leak, I thought it was from the radiator pipes. I ignored it. But the next day, the puddle had spread. It smelled faintly, metallic, like rust, or something else.
And
I reported it to the super. He barely looked up from his phone, said he'd check it later. That night, I heard something. Not dripping, scratching. Slow, deliberate scraping sounds from above my ceiling. I paused the TV and listened. It was faint, but steady, like someone dragging something heavy across the floor. I thought maybe it was the guy upstairs. Apartment 6B. I had never seen him. That's the strange part. I'd met nearly everyone on my floor in passing. But 6B's door was always shut, the blinds drawn, and there was never any noise. Until now. The next morning, the puddle had grown. Darker now. And the smell, stronger. It was coming from under the door of 6B. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Nothing. I went back to the super and insisted he check it out. He grumbled, grabbed his keys and followed me upstairs. When he opened the door to 6B, the smell hit us both like a brick wall. It was rotting, thick, sweet in the worst way. He stepped inside, hand over his mouth. I stayed in the hallway, then he shouted, "Call 911, now." I froze. "What's in there?" I asked. He didn't answer. The police arrived within minutes. They pushed us all back and cordoned off the area. I watched through the crack of my door as they pulled out a stretcher and a body bag. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I asked around. No one really knew the guy in 6B. Not even the super. He was on the lease, sure. Rent was paid through a service. But no one had seen him in months. One older neighbor, Mrs. Finch, told me something weird. She said she thought the apartment had been empty for a long time. That sometimes, she heard someone knocking at her door in the middle of the night, and when she opened it, no one was there. I shrugged it off. Figured it was just a recluse who died alone. Sad, but not uncommon. 2 days later, I was watching the news. They ran a small story. Unidentified male found dead in Columbus apartment. Police suspected he'd been dead for at least 4 months. Possibly more. 4 months, but that scratching? That started last week. I told myself maybe it was rats, or plumbing, or my imagination. But then the real twist came. A detective knocked on my door. He asked me a few questions. Standard stuff. Then he paused and said something that chilled me. "You mentioned you heard movement in the apartment, right? Recently?" I nodded. He looked uncomfortable. "Thing is, the body we found? Based on decomposition, lividity, and insect activity. The medical examiner thinks he's been dead at least 6 months. Possibly longer." I just stared at him. He continued. "We also found something else. There were scratches on the floorboards near the body. Drag marks. But here's the weirdest part. The inside of the front door was bolted. From the inside." I blinked. "So he locked himself in?" The detective shook his head slowly. "No. Not possible. The bolt, it was one of those heavy-duty ones. The kind that slides into the frame. We had to break it to get in. But the key deadbolt was also locked from inside. There were no signs of forced entry, and no one could have locked it after leaving." I felt something cold wash over me. He looked at me, dead serious. "You sure you didn't see anyone go in or out recently?" I shook my head. "No, never." He gave me a card and told me to call if I remembered anything. Then he left. I sat there for a long time, processing it. I tried to tell myself it didn't mean anything, that maybe the locks had some trick to them, that maybe someone had slipped in and out without being seen. But then, 3 nights later, around 3 a.m., I heard a knock. Not on my door, on the wall. The wall I share with apartment 6B. 3 soft knocks. Then, silence. I got up, heart pounding, and pressed my ear to the drywall. Nothing. I turned to go back to bed. Then, I heard it again. 3 knocks. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from inside apartment 6B. That unit is still sealed. Police say the door was rebolted by their team. No one has been inside since. But I keep hearing the knocking. And now, it's getting louder.